I fear death. I know, it's a very extreme way to start off a video game essay, but bear with me here. Over the past few years, I found myself having much more of a nihilistic approach to life, and thus I found myself fearing death. I fear the moment of death, but I also fear what comes after it, or rather the lack of what comes after it. If you're watching this and you consider yourself a nihilist, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. A nihilistic view of life concludes that there is no purpose to life, and death is simply just that, death. I bring this up because a few days ago I finished the last Campfire. It's a short game, but during my time in it I felt attached to it more so than any other game. Games are open to interpretation and the last Campfire isn't any different, but there is a predominant theme present in this game and it's the nothingness of death. There will be major spoilers in this video, so if you have any intentions of playing this game, then please watch this video after you've finished. The intro of the game is short and simple. The characters in this game are called embers, and so a group of embers are rowing peacefully through the darkness. One of the embers is shown to be vastly different in looks compared to the rest and coincidentally is also the only one lagging so far behind. The embers reach a large door, play a musical instrument which opens the door and they row inside. While this is happening, the orange ember is left behind. They still row to catch up to the group, yet sadly lose their oar. With no oar, the orange ember drifts past the door into a cave of darkness, lost, alone, hopeless. You awake as a blue ember. The intro showed an orange ember and that very ember was staring at you before you woke, except you right now are different. Quickly you get up and are accustomed to your surroundings. After solving your first puzzle, the door opens and you are met with the outside. This is just one of 3 areas that you will encounter on your journey to the last campfire. As you follow the path, you encounter a flame trapped in a cage. Interacting with this leads you into a different world of sorts where you solve a puzzle. Solving this puzzle brings you back into the current world, the flame now guiding you until you reach an ember turned to stone. The flame enters the ember's body. The ember returns to life. The flame is the soul of an ember. This campfire establishes the premise of the game.
This is a place between places, to travel through as your light fades. But none have passed on in a long time. The Forest King now holds us here, and those who linger will turn forlorn.
You are in a place between places to travel through as your light fades. The world is governed by something called the Forest King, and he keeps the embers in this place. Staying here too long turns the embers forlorn. It turns them to stone as they lose their way on their path. The entire game is a reference to death and the afterlife. The light of an ember fading is a metaphor for death, and in this fictional world, all embers must embark on this journey as they get closer to their final day. Thus, every ember here in this place between places have somehow lost their way on their path. You are also an ember in this place between places, thus you have also lost your way, which you need to find, otherwise you'll too turn forlorn. To find your way back, you need to help and guide the embers turned forlorn to the campfire. Each area in the game has 7 forlorn, but you only need to help 4 of them to open the gate. While not an important decision as it doesn't have an effect on the overall game, it's still quite interesting that you're given this decision. You can choose to leave embers behind, forever damning them to a state of nothing. They can never move on. They're endlessly stuck inside this intermediary world, but as long as you save 4 of them, you can move on. I chose to save all of them not only because I'm that one person who always likes going for the morally good ending, but also it just didn't feel right. Why do I get to choose who to save and not to save? Regardless, with that information in mind, you set off. 7 embers turned forlorn, 3 areas. To help an ember, you have to approach and interact with them. Doing this leads you into a different world, which now we understand it's not a different world, it's the mind of the ember. And if it wasn't clear enough, every time you interact with an ember, the narrator speaks a story that feels like it relates to the struggles of the ember or the sadness they experienced before their death.
The sea didn't care if they sank or swam. Slowly the tides ebbed, washing over old walls, a safe harbor emerging from the inky depths. Ember reached out a hand.
While traversing the world to find lost embers, you also find collectibles in the form of Wanderer diaries. These diary entries were written by someone called the Wanderer, who we've not encountered yet, but clearly they were important enough to have scattered pieces of information throughout the world. Some of these do indicate the purpose of the Wanderer, but most of them are the thoughts of the Wanderer at a given time relating to the area around it. Completing the first area opens a gate, through which you go only to encounter another forlorn sat on the side. As you approach this forlorn, something seems different.
Ember approached the forlorn, but felt it was different. They said, I know what I need to do, what I need to feel. I don't want to be helped. Ember could not help. Not all problems were puzzles to be solved.
I know I mentioned that the game is a reference to death, but it's also important to mention how it could be interpreted differently. The forlorn we encounter just outside of the gate doesn't want help. Not all problems were puzzles to be solved, and this is very true to real life. Yes, every person in the world is currently going through something, or will go through something. Majority of us would love help, but there are a lot of us that don't want help either. We just want to be left alone to our own thoughts. And so as much as it hurt me, I couldn't do anything. I had to move on and leave the ember there on the side for however long it took them to heal. Following the path leads us to our first interaction with the Forest King. They are unlike any of the embers we've seen before, and we really do feel intimidated by them no matter how much they say they are our friend. The Forest King makes the intention well known. As long as embers stay in this nest, they won't turn forlorn. The Forest King doesn't want you helping forlorn either, for they believe hope is false. Hope hurts little ones in the end.
Hope is false. Hope hurts little ones in the end.
The offer is tempting, but you know it's not right. You agree to stay, to which you are given a feather. I guess this is an induction into the nest, however you use this feather to your advantage, showing it to one of the guards, allowing you to progress to the next area. Throughout the remainder of the game, you keep solving puzzles to free the forlorn. You keep collecting the Wanderer Diaries, and you keep progressing on this journey until the end of chapter 3. In this chapter, your purpose is to restore the water to the world around you so that you can take a boat and journey to the last campfire. However, we still are collecting these Wanderer Diaries without knowing who the Wanderer is. Freeing the lost forlorn, the campfire ghost leaves you with the final message.
The ghost said, "You have done all you can, little one. Your journey lies ahead. Your journey is nearing its end, little one. You have cleared a path for others to follow. I will guide them after you have gone."
The gate opens and you're able to row your boat through, encountering another forlorn that doesn't want help. Moving past them leads you back to the nest where tragedy has occurred. The king is dead. It's fishy. It's suspicious, and so in exploring your surroundings, you find a chain that opens a door under the seat of the Forest King.
Chains and pulleys in the base of the chair. It didn't feel real. The Forest King wasn't real.
It all makes sense, of course. If the guards weren't actual birds and just embers in disguise, then couldn't the Forest King also be an ember in disguise? Couldn't the fear of turning forlorn make embers follow in the words of a figure that they know nothing about just because something is promised to them? It all seems obvious now, but remember, we too were tempted by the Forest King, and now they've disappeared, leaving us with the question, who was it? With this in mind, you carry on and encounter the fourth and final campfire in this place of places.
Few have made this journey. This is the last campfire. Your path ahead is clear. What you do now is yours to decide. A boat lies waiting, but it belongs to another. Their path was not so straight as yours. Seek them out before you move on.
We walk through the opening, and there in the middle sits the ember from the opening of the game.
Hoped to find answers. Behind the Forest King's puppetry was the wanderer in the red cloak. The stranger spoke. "Why didn't you stop? Why not stay safe in the nest I made? Don't you see? This is all there is, just the end. What hope can there be in that? The path goes nowhere, but we sail on regardless, slipping beyond the horizon, one after the other. I couldn't bear it. In the end, I destroyed the boats. What have I done? I wanted to be a lighthouse for others. How do you save others once your light has gone out?"
In a final turn of events, the Wanderer, the Lost Ember, the Forest King turns forlorn. Of course, you help the Wanderer, but you are the antithesis of them. They have locked up their hope, shut themselves off from everything because they see that there is nothing past the last campfire, but you You have hope. You want to keep going. You are the yin to the yang, and this is made obvious with the color palettes for the two embers. You are a shade of blue that sits opposite the Wanderer in the color wheel. The Wanderer was never evil. They didn't want the lost embers to lose hope, and in trying to stop them from moving on, they unwittingly caused the loss of hope, turning many embers forlorn.
The Wanderer searched for words. When I reached this place, I could see the truth. This is all that there is. There is nothing that comes after. How do you face that? I'm not ready. I turned back, tried to stop the others. Built a little nest. What a mess that was. You hope, you try, you fail, and then nothing more. I thought I was saving them, that they would lose hope if they knew. But without an end, they lost hope anyway. The Wanderer took a breath. I thought it would lead somewhere, mean something. After everything I've done, I don't deserve to move on. Only my boat remains. Take my oar. Finish your journey. Leave this place.
The two embers embark on their journey together. All the embers that you freed finally ready to move on. And as you approach the last campfire, the narrator ends it the same way that they started it.
There is a place where the lost embers go, as their light begins to fade.
Death is scary. It will possibly be the one thing that we may never understand until we experience it, and once that does happen, that's it. There's no going back. What if there is nothing, just like the Wanderer said? What if everything is hopeless and everything we work towards doesn't exist? It's a terrifying thought, but in saying all that, you can't lose hope. You can never lose hope. Hope is what defines a person. The game illustrates that the moment you lose hope, you can't move on. You can't do anything, it's debilitating. Let's for a second ignore death. Even without death, you need hope. This game was released during COVID, and in that period, a lot of us lost hope. A lot of us fell into depression, into anxiety, into some of the worst state of minds that we can imagine. A lot of us were lonely, and a lot of us still haven't recovered since then. There are people around us that love us, and sometimes we require a little push, a little help from one of these people to reignite that hope into us, to make us better. In my video on Greece, I said life can change in an instant. You never really know what's gonna happen in the next hour, let alone tomorrow. We all have someone close to us, maybe multiple people. So please ask them if they're okay. Please tell them how much you love them. For a lot of us, we put on a happy face for others, but inside we're quite the opposite. It's important we reach out to each other.